Hello, welcome to Resting Potential, in-depth primers of neuroscientific concepts by a PhD neuroscientist. I'm Dr. Silver, your guide and tutor through today's lesson on sleep and the brain. Sleep is a time of quiet renewal for the brain. As you drift into slumber, your brain doesn't turn off. It switches into a different mode, performing essential maintenance and restorative functions. During healthy sleep, neurons rest and regroup. Memories settle into long-term storage, and the brain clears out waste accumulated during the day. In this gentle state, your brain waves slow down and synchronize. Your breathing deepens, and a cascade of biological processes begin inside your brain. In contrast, when sleep is cut short or disrupted, these vital tasks remain unfinished, leaving the brain foggy, memory weak, and the brain's cleanup crew struggling with leftover clutter. In this video, we'll cover the science of sleep's restorative powers, and also warn of the brain's vulnerabilities when sleep is in short supply, all in a calming, ASMR-friendly manner. So get cozy, maybe close your eyes, and let's explore what happens in your brain each night when you sleep. The rhythms of deep sleep. An EEG recording of deep, slow-wave sleep. In deep, non-REM sleep, the brain's electrical activity slows to a gentle rolling rhythm. If we were to place sensors on your scalp during this time, the EEG would show large, slow brain waves called delta waves, about 1 cycle per second or less. These slow waves are the signature of stage 3 sleep, also called slow wave sleep. They reflect thousands of cortical neurons synchronizing, all briefly falling silent into a down state, then firing together into an up state in a calm, pulsating pattern. In a sense, your neurons are resting in unison. During the down state, cells pause their activity, which gives them a chance to recover, balance their ions, and save energy, like taking tiny naps in between bursts of activity. This slow, synchronized oscillation is thought to be highly restorative. It lowers the brain's overall metabolic rate and permits recovery from the day's work. In fact, growth hormone is released most during these slow wave stages, aiding cellular repair. By contrast, in REM sleep, the stage of rapid eye movement sleep when most vivid dreams occur, the EEG shows faster, mixed-frequency waves that resemble waking activity. REM is an active brain state. The cortex is busy and desynchronized. But during REM, our body is largely paralyzed. Throughout a normal night, your brain cycles between these stages, but it's during slow-wave sleep in the early night that some of the most profound housekeeping occurs. Here's a chart showing some of the cycles as you would go to sleep, go into deeper waves of sleep, and then back up into REM sleep, a more active state, and then cycle back and forth over and over. You can see that during these deeper stages of sleep, your heart rate slows down, your breath rate slows down, and during the REM cycles, your heart rate increases, your breathing rate increases, and, well, never mind. Memories replayed and preserved. One remarkable thing your brain does in sleep is replay and reinforce memories. As you doze, the hippocampus, named that way because it is a seahorse-shaped brain region deep in your brain which encodes new experiences, becomes spontaneously active, replaying patterns of neural firing that occurred during the day. It's as if the hippocampus is whispering the day's memories back to the cortex, teaching it what needs to be remembered. In fact, in rats, researchers have recorded neurons, so-called place cells, in the hippocampus firing in sequences that correspond to the maze the rat ran earlier in the day. Amazingly, those same sequences fire again during subsequent slow-wave sleep, but accelerated, like a furtive nighttime rehearsal. This phenomenon is called hippocampal replay. It's believed to be one way the brain practices and consolidates new memories into long-term storage. Disrupting this nightly rehearsal can have consequences. In a 2009 study by Girardeau and colleagues, researchers gently interfered with the hippocampal sharp wave ripple oscillations, the brief bursts that accompany memory replay in sleeping rats. The results was that the rats had trouble remembering a spatial maze they had learned. This finding showed that these replay events aren't just idle dreaming, they're functional. When the replay was blocked, memory suffered, implying that the brain needs this replay to solidify memories. Conversely, when replay goes well, memory benefits. A 2018 human study by Shapiro and colleagues demonstrated that the sleeping brain prioritizes weaker or fragile memories for replay to strengthen them. In that study, participants learned a set of pictures. During a nap, their brains, monitored via fMRI, showed hippocampal activity reactivating the less learned images more often. The individuals who displayed more of this targeted replay ended up remembering these items better later. Notably, this replay-related improvement was seen only if the people actually slept during the break, highlighting how sleep improves conditions for memory processing that wakefulness does not. How does the brain coordinate this dialogue between the hippocampus and the cortex? During non-REM sleep, besides slow waves, the EEG also shows sleep spindles, brief half-a-second bursts, about 12 to 15 hertz activity. These spindles often occur in sync with hippocampal ripples, and neuroscientists believe this timing is crucial. The ripple, with replay content, happens as a spindle pings the cortex, effectively saying, "Store this now." Indeed, higher sleep spindle activity after learning is linked to better memory retention. We can imagine the brain filing away the day's experiences. New connections made while awake are being revisited and gently strengthened so that tomorrow you'll remember them. In this way, sleep is the brain's memory workshop, replaying experiences to turn short-term impressions into lasting neural traces. And when you wake after a good night's sleep, your mind often feels clearer, as if it has neatly organized yesterday's stories on the shelf, ready for you to recall when needed. Synaptic housekeeping. All day long, as you go about learning and experiencing, your brain's neurons are constantly adjusting the strength of their connections called synapses. Learning generally means strengthening synapses, making certain neural pathways more robust. But if every experience only strengthened connections, the brain's network would become overly saturated, like a chalkboard overly written on, or computer hard drives that's never cleaned up. One influential idea in neuroscience, proposed by Giulio Tononi and Chiara Sorelli, is the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis. It suggests that one core function of sleep is to scale back synaptic strengths to a baseline, more or less renormalizing the brain's connections after a day of learning. In essence, sleep is when the brain says, "Let's keep the important connections, but trim the excess so we don't overload." This pruning is subtle. You won't lose important memories overnight. Instead, the brain seems to target the small, less significant synapses for downscaling, preserving the big, important ones. There's compelling evidence for this happening. In 2017, a team led by Luisa de Vivo and colleagues used 3D electron microscopy to examine nearly 7,000 synapses in the mouse cortex, comparing brains of mice that had been awake versus those that had slept. The results were striking. After sleep, the average size of synapses, specifically the axon-spine interface, was 18% smaller, 18% smaller than in animals that stayed awake. The Science 2017 study showed disruptions of synapse sizes. The sleep grounds curve shifted lower, indicating widespread synaptic weakening. Importantly, the largest synapses, presumably those storing strong, important memories, were mostly spared from the shrinkage. It was mainly the multitude of small synapses that got dialed down. This selective pruning is like trimming tiny twigs while leaving the sturdy branches intact. By doing so, the brain frees up space and resources, preventing runaway potentiation. It also may protect us from retaining a flood of trivial details that could interfere with important memories. Imagine an image of a dense thicket of neuronal connections slightly thinning out overnight. That's what your brain likely does in deep sleep. A gentle pruning that resets the balance so that the next day you can learn anew without saturating the network. This synaptic downscaling also saves energy. Maintaining synapses is metabolically costly, so reducing excess connection strength is like a power down to conserve fuel. We can appreciate how during sleep, your brain is carefully sweeping through billions of synapses, erasing a little bit of the noise and strengthening the signal. Come morning time, the neural connections are refreshed, noise reduced, and you're ready to take in new information again. Cleansing the brain, the glymphatic system. Have you ever heard that sleep is like a deep cleaning for your brain? In recent years, scientists have discovered a physical cleaning system in the brain, known as the glymphatic system, that primarily works while we sleep. During the day, our hard-working neurons produce metabolic waste products. One example is amyloid beta, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. It builds up slowly in spaces in between brain cells during normal function and aging. The brain doesn't have lymph nodes like the rest of the body, so it wasn't obvious how the brain clears out these wastes. The breakthrough came in 2013. Rose found that when mice fell asleep, cerebrospinal fluid surged through the brains, washing through the tissue and carrying away debris. It's as if a microscopic wave of fluid flushes the brain's streets at night. How does this happen? During sleep, the space between neurons actually expands by about 60%. In a landmark 2013 study, she et al. Used 2-photon microscopy to watch dye-infused fluid flow in mouse brains. When the mice slept, the dye spread far and wide, indicating fluid rapidly percolating through the brain. When the mice were awake, fluid flow was much slower and more restricted. As a result, the clearance of amyloid beta was much faster during sleep than wakefulness. In this study, a green tracer injected during sleep traveled deep into the cortex, whereas a red tracer injected when the mouse was awake barely penetrated. A vivid illustration of the brain's night shift cleaning crew at work. The researchers poetically concluded that the restorative function of sleep may be a consequence of the enhanced removal of potentially neurotoxic waste that accumulates during wakefulness. This glymphatic cleansing seems to be crucial for long-term brain health. The system relies on glial cells, hence glymphatic, and channels around blood vessels to circulate CSF. It's most active in slow-wave sleep, the deep sleep cycles that we mentioned at the top of the video. If sleep is fragmented or of poor quality, this fluid circulation is impaired. Over time, that could allow waste proteins to accumulate. Indeed, animal studies show that chronic sleep deprivation leads to a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain, and conversely, good sleep promotes their clearance. There's growing evidence in humans too. Poor sleep in later life correlates with higher amyloid levels and memory decline. A 2020 study showed that CSF flow pulses in sync with slow EEG waves during NREM sleep, a recently observed phenomenon in humans that links brain electrical activity to fluid dynamics. It's a gentle pulsation, almost like the brain is breathing fluid in and out during deep sleep, helping rinse out wastes. Let's marvel at this for a moment. When you sink into deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink a bit, and a calm tide of cerebrospinal fluid sweeps through, washing away the metabolic detritus of the day. This is one of the reasons we feel refreshed after sleep. Our neurons wake up to a cleaner environment, no longer bathing in yesterday's byproducts, but in fresh media, ready for a new day. When sleep falls short. What happens to the brain when we don't get enough proper sleep? In the short term, you might notice foggy thinking, trouble concentrating, and forgetfulness. These symptoms reflect real, measurable changes in the brain. For one, a sleep-deprived brain struggles with memory formation. Important brain structures like the hippocampus cannot function optimally on no sleep. Studies have shown that after a night of total sleep deprivation, the hippocampus's activity during learning is much weaker, as if it's too tired to encode new memories. In functional MRI scans, researchers see reduced neural responses in the hippocampus when sleep-deprived people try to memorize or recall information. It's no wonder that pulling a null node makes it hard to remember what you studied. Your brain's memory circuits simply aren't firing on all cylinders. Lack of sleep also leaves the brain's cleaning incomplete. Recall the glymphatic system we discussed. It operates most effectively during deep sleep. If you curtail your sleep, those cleansing waves of CSF don't have enough time to do their job. A striking 2018 study demonstrated this in humans. They used PET scans to measure beta amyloid, again a waste protein, in people's brains after a full night of rested sleep, and again after a night of no sleep. After the sleepless night, amyloid levels spiked significantly in parts of the brain like the hippocampus and thalamus. Just one all-nighter caused a measurable increase in the Alzheimer's-linked protein. Essentially, the brain's garbage disposal didn't run, and the trash piled up. This finding suggests that even acute sleep loss makes the brain environment more toxic, and it aligns with observations that chronic poor sleep is a risk factor for neurodegenerative disease. This study showed a visual warning of what a lack of sleep can do to the sleep-deprived brain, which is seen glowing with higher amyloid tracer uptake. Beyond memory and waste clearance, insufficient sleep disrupts emotional regulation. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, which is why we're more irritable or prone to mood swings when tired, and impairs attention and decision-making. The prefrontal cortex goes into low-power mode. In extreme cases, prolonged sleep deprivation can even lead to microsleeps, brief involuntary lapses into sleep, hallucinations, or in rare disorders, severe cognitive impairment. The good news, however, is that many of these negative effects are reversible with sleep recovery. For example, one study found that after being sleep deprived, having 2 nights of good sleep mostly restored participants' brain connectivity and memory performance. The brain, it turns out, is resilient. It will eagerly catch up on deep sleep. You might experience extra slow wave activity and REM rebound following deprivation to get back on track. Still, the research is clear that chronic sleep loss is unhealthy for the brain. It leaves waste uncleared, memories less stable, and neural circuits misaligned. It's akin to running machinery without downtime for lubrication. Wear and tear will accumulate. So when you consistently shortchange your sleep, your brain's to-do list of repairs and file sorting grows longer and longer. So be sure to get that beauty rest. Conclusion. In the quiet darkness of sleep, the brain is hard at work, performing a symphony of subtle, essential actions that refresh our intellect and safeguard our neurological health. Each night, neurons synchronize into slow waves, guiding us into deep restorative sleep. Memories of the day are gently replayed, important ones kept and woven into the fabric of the hippocampus. Tens of trillions of synapses subtly downshift, relaxing their strength to prevent overload and make room for tomorrow's learning. A clear tide of cerebrospinal fluid sweeps through the brain's channels, washing away toxic debris and metabolic waste. All of this happens under the surface, quietly, without our awareness. The brain's own housekeeping and maintenance crew active while we peacefully slumber. When we awaken from a good night's sleep, we truly have a clean slate. Our mind feels clearer, memory sharper, and our head literally lighter as the brain has cleared out yesterday's debris. In contrast, missing out on sleep leaves these jobs unfinished, memories in disarray, and waste building up at the curb. The neuroscience of sleep reminds us that sleep is not idle time. It is as vital to the brain as food is to the body. So the next time you're drifting off, remember, in that gentle trance, your brain is healing itself. Every dozy breath you take is accompanied by waves of activity in your neurons that heal, clean, and restore. Prioritize your sleep, and your brain will thank you with clearer thinking, better memory, improved mood, and a healthier future. Let this knowledge comfort you as you close your eyes. Your brain knows exactly what to do when you sleep, taking care of you one slow wave at a time. Good night and sweet dreams. Thank you for joining me here at Resting Potential. Until next time, sleep well, let your mind slow, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Today's word chain is memory, yawning, gamma, amnestic, clearance, electroencephalogram, mnemonic, circadian.